Hello, everybody, and welcome to our final week 15 of ELFH 617. In this presentation, what I'm going to do is just sort of do some wrap-up things and walk you through some reflection questions and things like that. I have to apologize because this was, of course, initially meant to be done live, but because of my injury, I'm not able to do that. So I do apologize in advance for that. So I'll talk you through some synthesis. Like I said, I'll walk you through the reflection exercise that we did on Tuesday night, and then I'll talk to you about some next steps for this course for this semester. So we've covered a lot this semester. Here's just a few pieces of the things that we have covered over this semester. And as you can tell, there's a lot packed in there, right? There's a lot going on, and there's a lot more that we've covered that's not on the screen either. But it's all important information, and it's really important, especially when we think about analyzing data and making decisions and things like that. So let me just give you a sense of how I've made sense of the semester and the things that we have done together over the course of the past 15 weeks. So hopefully you've begun to build or strengthen the following competencies. You are able to critically examine a problem. So you're able to take a situation and say, let's distill this down to what real problems we're focusing on, and what we should be paying attention to and what we shouldn't. Along with that, you've been using a systematic inquiry process. So we've called this the scientist practitioner model, but this has been a systematic process where we say, okay, well, how can we investigate this further? What is our next step? There's a very clear process that we can follow to understand this a bit more. You've also learned about consuming academic research. So you've learned about how to find articles, how to read articles, how to make sense of them to a degree. I realize that we haven't dug really deeply into that, but to a degree, you've been able to do that. You've also done some data analysis, so you've been able to dig into some numbers and really figure out what they're trying to tell you. And you've done it in a more rigorous fashion than most people get to. So you've used real data, real life data, and you've done things more than just look at frequencies and percentages. You've really dug down into the data a little bit more deeply and a little bit more meaningfully. You've also proposed solutions. So you've talked about what the data mean for an organization and what you could do about it. And then, of course, presenting information. You've been able to practice a little bit how to take all of that information and spit it back out so that it makes sense to someone else. So a couple of things that I want to touch on. Why do we cover APA? So the most important thing to me for APA is not really the way in which we structure the content. If you have a running head, if you don't have a running head, if you have page numbers, where you put your name on the title page, that kind of stuff. That's not really that important. What is important about APA is attribution, or giving credit where credit is due. Making sure that you are citing your sources and telling people where you got your information. And I think that's really important. Granted, that can take the form of footnotes, endnotes, APA citation, MLA citation, whatever. But the important thing is really giving credit to those who have done the hard work of the research before you, just as you would like to have credit for the work that you do. So really, it's about attribution. The second most important thing is writing without bias. So APA tells us that we should try to write in a more neutral fashion. And so I think that's another important thing, probably not quite as important as attribution, but also very important. And then lastly is the formatting issue. That's really the least important thing. And I know it's one of those things that can easily be picked at, and page numbers go here and author name goes here and that kind of stuff. But really, that's the least important thing when we talk about APA. So why do we cover library and academic research? Well, the truth of the matter is that original sources like academic articles aren't heavily relied on in the business world. We don't really use them a whole lot. Now, we go to secondary sources, right? So we might look at an article in Harvard Business Review. We might look at an article in the New York Times or the Washington Post that summarizes research that's out there, but we don't go to the original resources. And that's okay, but it's partially okay. Now you know, and now you have the skills to be able to dig deeper and ask those questions about the research, about the data that's presented to you, and really dig further and interrogate that a little bit more. You also have to be wary of these, gimmicks and fads and stuff like that that come along in the form of books and seminars and new inventories, strengths inventories or personality profiles and that kind of stuff. So you have to be wary of that too, and this stuff can help you understand that further. Plus, you're going to use this information, getting articles and looking through library databases in every other course. So you will use this. You will definitely use this in every other course. So at this time, I'll walk you through what we would have done in the class. So what I ask the students to do, and I would ask you to do as well, is to think back over the course over this past 15 weeks and think about what you've learned and what's still fuzzy for you. And you might think about what behavior thinking has changed on your part. You might also think about what you are disappointed in that we didn't cover. And then what advice you would give to next semester's 617 students. So here's what I'm going to have you do. Instead of doing this, we did this in groups in my Tuesday night class, but unfortunately, we can't do that here. What I'd like you to do is answer these 3 questions for me in an email. Just shoot me a quick email, and let me know what you think. What thinking or behavior on your part has changed? And if you say, actually, I don't know the answer to that yet, or I'm not really sure, or I can't really think of anything right now, that's okay. That's perfectly okay. Just shoot me an email and let me know what you think about that. What are you disappointed we didn't cover? This is going to give me really good ideas for future semesters and what's really needed by students. And then what advice would you give to next semester students? That's going to be helpful as well. So shoot me an email just when you get a moment, and let me know your answers to these questions. This is called a metacognitive process. Metacognitive means thinking about thinking. So metacognitive, cognition, that's really thinking, right? So metacognition is thinking about thinking. Now what I want to do is talk to you a little bit about how you made my job easier throughout the semester. So when you wrote clearly, when you clearly communicated your ideas, that definitely made my job easier. It's really difficult to get to the nuts and bolts of something if the writing is unclear. So writing clearly is a very important thing, and I hope you continue to do that. Of course, reading the syllabus, there are times when I even have to go back to the syllabus and think, okay, well, now when is this project due again, and where are my due dates? Because I, of course, am juggling several classes, just like many of you are juggling several classes. So the syllabus, reading the syllabus in this class and in all your future classes is going to be the most important thing. Asking questions is also really important. So I really, really appreciate all questions that I get. And I know there's a saying, there's no such thing as a dumb question. I actually don't think that that's entirely true. I think there are dumb questions, but I appreciate them being asked anyway. I think dumb questions are okay to ask too. Engaging in class sessions, I'll be honest with you, it's really lonely as the professor, being on one side of a screen where you can't see anybody, you can't hear you can't see any nonverbal communication. You don't really know what students are thinking. You make jokes, and you might get a happy face, you might get a thumbs up, you might get nothing. And so engaging in class sessions really, really does help. It helps me, it helps the rest of the class, and I think it helps you to retain a lot more of the information as well. And then lastly, communicating with me. Many of you had things that came up through the course of the semester, and communicating that with me, telling me what's going on, telling me the troubles, then the struggles that you're having. That's an important thing to do. That's important to keep us updated. Believe it or not, your professors do care about your well-being, and we do care about your learning. So please keep us updated with that. And that being said, communicate with me even after this class is over. So I really encourage you, if you have further questions, if you have things that come up, if you just want to check in and say hi, that's great. I love to hear from my students, and so do all of the other professors. Even after you graduate, just drop us a note and say, hey, this is how things are going. I got this cool new job, or I'm doing this now, or what have you. We love to hear from you. So with that, let me talk about some next steps for the class, just some kind of technical things. Grades will be in Blackboard over the next week or so, your final grades after I've looked at your changes document and everything. I'll send you a note once that's done, but please do look in Blackboard anyway and let me know if there's anything that's missing or if there's an error or something like that. Please do let me know sooner rather than later, because once final grades are in, they're in. So please do take a look at that. And then lastly, please fill out your course evaluation for this course and your other courses. A lot of people don't know this, but we faculty use course evaluations in our annual reviews each year. So that's part of our performance evaluation. And I'm not suggesting that you need to give me high ratings or anything like that, but it is something that is useful. It's something that we do take very seriously. We use it for future improvement. And so I do highly, highly encourage you to fill that out for this class. I welcome the feedback. I welcome all of your remarks, and I look forward to seeing those once you're finished. So that's officially it for 617 for spring 2018. I hope you had a great semester. I hope you enjoyed the course. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed interacting with others. Again, please feel free to contact me. You've all done a really great job, and I appreciate all of the hard work over the semester. And if there's anything I can do for you now or in the future, please feel free to let me know. I am absolutely happy to help you. Enjoy your summer. If you're taking some time off, if you're taking classes, do take some time to unwind a little bit, to spend some time with your family, your friends, things like that. So have an excellent summer, and I will see many of you when you get to the capstone course and are ready to graduate. See you later.